What's going on, you guys? It's Scott from Fly Rides, back again today in the shop. We are talking about the Riese Müller Supercharger2, the brand new iteration of Riese Müller's very popular dual battery hardtail mountain bike commuter. Which is it? Well, guess what? It's kind of both, which is why I love this bike. I checked out the 2020 Riese Müller Supercharger2 with the GX trim because you know here at Fly Rides, we like to focus a little more on the trail side. We do commute quite a bit, but man, we love getting out on those trails and either shredding some downhill or do some bike packing, even just some single track cross country riding. It's kind of our jam, and this bike covers all of those fields. Like this video, you guys, and subscribe to this channel before I start talking about it. I'll wait. Let's talk about the 2020 Riese Müller Supercharger2. First things first, you guys know what we're gonna do. Let's talk about specs, baby.
Let's talk about specs, baby.
This bike has customizable features in places where you didn't even know you wanted customizable features. This year, the word super in Riese Müller's fleet means you are going to get a dual integrated battery. So you got the Super Delight, remember that bike? We did a review a little while ago on it. Go watch that if you want. But the Supercharger is also gonna be dual integrated 500 watt-hour batteries from Bosch. You have the Gen 4 motor on this. That means it is half the size of the Gen 2 motor. You're also going to get just as much power on the CX as you do on the Speed, and I meant that in reverse. You're also going to get just as much power from the Speed motor as you do from the CX motor this year, which is insane. The same amount of torque, 75 Newton meters, means you compromise nothing if you want to get that extra speed, and you can get it on the Supercharger 2. The three displays you can choose from this year on the Supercharger 2 are going to be your Intuvia, your kiosks, and your smartphone hub, which works with or without a smartphone. Don't forget that. Like a lot of other Riese Müller bikes, you have the choice between the touring model, which is going to offer a Shimano derailleur. Really, really nice stuff right there. Or you can do the Vario, that is an internally geared hub that is going to get you a ton of gear ratio, and also has a Gates carbon belt drive if you don't want to mess around with maintenance if you're out on the trails, or honestly if you're commuting on it as well. And then of course you are also going to be offered the roll-off E14 hub. Mwah. Oh, love it. So much gear ratio. It's insane. 14 set gears, and it does electronic shifting, so it's precise. And a great option for those out there looking for an engineering feat of mastery. One of the things I love about Riese Müller bikes is that they give you high quality specs in areas that some people do not. For instance, your grips, you're getting ergon grips no matter what. You get a little bit of an upgrade as well if you're going with the GX model. Tires are going to be great as well, the Schwalbe Supermoto X on this bike. And then if you want, you can get the Rock Racer tires, again for the off-road style bike, the GX model. You're also getting Magura MT4 hydraulic disc brakes, which is going to be plenty of stopping power, whether you're on trails or on roads. It also comes standard with a rear rack. You can add a front rack if you like, have a little extra carrying room, which is gonna be nice if you're commuting or trail riding, quite frankly, if you're doing some overnight adventures with this bike. And it also is gonna add a full suspension feel to this hardtail bike with the Cane Creek Thudbuster seat post. As with all of Riese Müller's bikes, these are hand-welded frames, and then they are hand-built in Germany. So still a really great operation over there that is hand-building bikes in Germany just for you. That's why you're paying a little bit extra for these, but it is well worth the cost, generally speaking. But did the Supercharger 2 hold up to the rest of the bikes this year? Because so far, I've loved just about all of them. Well, let's talk about the ride right now. So I took the Supercharger 2 out on some trails, and I also commuted on it. I put in probably 250 to 300 miles on this bike because I really enjoyed it, as it turned out. I definitely think with the GX model, where it really shines is on dirt. Man, when I took this thing off-road, it was like you could just go forever. So I would say range-wise, I weigh about 145, and so not a very big dude. And I was probably getting, with some decent climbing in there. Generally on rides that I go on the trails, I try to do at least like 1,500 to 2,000 feet of climbing, and I was easily getting 40 miles, 50 miles without really putting in a ton of effort, keeping it in tour for the most part, in terms of the mode that I was in. So in terms of the way it rode and also the range, I really love this bike and appreciated it as an off-road bike. But it is still very good as a commuter as well. So most of the riding I'm going to do, I live in a city. It's not always easy to get to a trail. So most of the riding that I do is going to be in a city. So on roads, stuff like that. I would highly recommend getting the speed model if you are going to have any sort of commuting aspect to it, because there's really, again, no trade-off this year with the Bosch motor. Either way, you're getting the same amount of torque. The power delivery is a little bit different between the Bosch Speed and the Bosch CX, but overall, the power is mostly the same. It doesn't feel very different between the CX and the Speed. I love the fact that the bike came with a lock, and you can, basically just have the same key for your lock and your batteries. And especially if you're kind of just going somewhere for a couple minutes, you don't really need extra locks. You can just kind of leave it outside for just a second. I would recommend probably buying some extra locks on top of it. This is a very expensive bike if you live in a, high theft area. It's going to be a little bit heavier. You definitely don't notice it when it's on the roads. It was also not difficult for me to get the bike on a Kuat or Thule T1 rack. Both of those were very easy load-ons, load-offs, and I never felt like the bike was going to fall off the back or anything like that, so no major concerns if you have a solid tray rack. So I would most highly recommend this bike for people who are looking to bike pack with it, some backcountry adventures, because it does last a very long time. The range is solid, especially if you go to like campsites or something like that where you're going to have a recharge station, or if you have an RV converter, you're going to be able to use that bike in the backcountry. If you're a long distance commuter, I would also say this is going to be a nice option as well. Also, if you're someone who kind of sometimes forgets to charge their bike overnight, and then you're kind of like, oh, I got to go to work today and I need to commute, this is going to be a good option as well, because it's going to last you a couple days on your commute. The bike I rode was with the Vario hub. That has probably been my favorite drivetrain option this year from Riese Müller. I am a fan of a traditional derailleur as well, but I think the Vario is a nice kind of middle ground where you can still get the Gates carbon belt drive, but it's not like that high-end, super expensive roll-off. So you're getting kind of the feel of an integrated hub and an internally geared hub, but it's not going to break the bank quite as much as a roll-off. I think for people that love tech, a smartphone hub is a great way to go in terms of the display. If you want something a little more basic, the Intuvia or Kiox is just fine as well. One of the big updates I like this year is the reduction in size on the Supercharger 2. So we did have someone test this bike out who was about 5'4", 5'4.5", this rider is, and they fit it fine. I'm 5'6", and I fit the smallest one fine as well. So I really like that Riese Müller has allowed smaller riders to fit their bikes more easily this year. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more electric bike content. We've got reviews, we've got lifestyle videos. Sometimes we've even got some feel-good stories for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, and until then, enjoy the ride.